So hey guys, how are you all? Welcome to. So we are back with a brand new movie on What If Naruto Father of Yuffie K. But before we start, be sure to subscribe to our channel and like this video. Now let's begin the story. Godo, Cage of the village of Wutai, stood by the beach with his wife as the great beast Leviathan approached. Hello, Hokage, we're prepared as you requested. Godo greeted the blonde-headed man as he hopped off the monster with a young 5-year-old girl in his arms. Thank you, I am indebted to you and your people, Godo, the Hokage nodded to the older man, before returning the sea monster to its materia. Thank you for all your help, old friend. Watch over my sister, now. The Hokage turned to the little girl and, dropping to one knee, said, Yuffie, you're going to be staying here for a while, okay? What? No, you promised I'd get to watch over the baby. Yuffie stuck her lower lip out in a pout. And you will, when it's safe for you to. The Hokage smiled at the bright-eyed little girl. But it's not safe in Konoha right now. So you're going to be staying here while I get everything okay again. But I want to stay with you, Ni-chan. Yuffie whimpered on the verge of tears. I can help. I'll be a great ninja, even the Hokage someday too. I love you, little sister, the Hokage said, doing a few hand signs and then touching the girl's forehead. A moment later, her eyes dilated and she fell forward into his arms. When she wakes up, she'll have no memory of Konoha or me. When she reaches adulthood, give her this and tell her of her heritage. He said as he pulled his old Konoha headband from his pocket. Whether I survive the beast's attack or not, I want her to remember who she is when she's ready to accept it. Are you sure that was necessary? Godo asked with concern. It's better this way. Remember, when she reaches adulthood, give her the bandana and the seal I used on her will dissipate, the Hokage said before summoning a large frog. Take care of my little sister. I'm counting on you. Godo watched the Hokage return to his village before glancing down to the sleeping girl in his arm. I swear I will treat her as if she was of my own blood. Present day, City of Edge, formerly known as Midgar. A young woman wiped down a newly abandoned table in the bar known as the Seventh Heaven. It was a quiet day, and she smiled as she watched the two children still living with her running outside the front of the bar playing. Denzel, Marlene, would you come in here for a second? The woman asked as the two kids came bounding in. Okay, you two, what do we want for lunch? Before the kids could offer a reply, the phone jingled from the other side of the counter. Hold that thought, guys. The woman said before walking quickly around to answer the phone. Strife Delivery Service, this is Tifa Lockhart speaking. How may I help you? Tifa leaned against the counter. Hello, Godo, it's been what happened to Yuffie? Yes, I'll have Cloud come, you want all of us. I'll see what I can do, okay, we'll be there as soon as we can. See you then, bye. Tifa then turned to the kids, there's been a change of plans. Go pack your things, we're going on a little trip on Uncle Sid's airship. How long will we be gone, Tifa? Marlene asked, glancing to her best friend to her mother figure. Don't know, so pack plenty, and you're going to see Daddy too. Tifa touched Marlene's head as she beamed happily. And Cloud? Denzel asked excitedly. Yes, Cloud too. Tifa smiled wistfully. Now scoot, you two, while I make some calls. Mountain range near Cosmo Canyon. Fenrir, the customized, armored motorcycle of Cloud Strife, zoomed along the dry soil as he pursued a pair of gang bikers. The blonde, spiky-haired swordsman narrowed his eyes behind his sunglasses as he closed the gap between the two thugs, who had grabbed the package he was personally trying to deliver. He pressed a button on the handle of the bike and the sides opened with the sound of blades drawing as the pieces of the first Tsurugi, Cloud's massive multi-part broadsword. Showing a deep concentration of skill and practiced ease, he, with one hand and without taking his eyes off the thugs in front of him, assembled the massive blade and drew it from its confines. He passed one thug and slashed his tires, sending him tumbling to the ground, and the bike destroying itself as it flipped head over wheels. Cloud never slowed as he continued on to the one holding the stolen package. This one was smart enough to stop the bike and jump off to draw his bladed weapon. He just wasn't smart enough to surrender the item. Put the box on the ground and walk away, Cloud warned, pulling off his sunglasses and placing them in the pocket of his dark blue uniform. What's it to you? The idiot replied, as Cloud readied the Tsurugi. Put the box on the ground and walk away, Cloud said yet again, last warning. Bring it on, pal, the thug smiled before dashing toward Cloud with his short sword swinging wildly around him. With a simple flick of the wrists, Cloud hit the blade of the thug's sword with his own, sending it flying into the air. While the thug was distracted by the sudden disarming, Cloud, with his free hand, punched him square between the eyes, knocking him out, and still caught the discarded box before it hit the ground. Baka. Cloud shook his head to the code thug before sheathing Tsurugi. Cloud pulled his cell phone and flipped it open. Cloud. He answered. Okay. Have you contacted the others? Good. Where are you now? I have to deliver this package, and then I'll meet you at the usual spot. Cloud hopped back onto Fenrir and took off back toward his destination. He came to a stop at a small wedding chapel near Gongaga village. Fenrir came to a stop as a pair of bridesmaids came running out. Sorry I'm late, had some difficulties. Cloud explained as he handed the women the dress box. How much do we owe for the delivery? One of the women asked. Wish the couple good luck for me and we'll call it even. Cloud nodded before he saw the airship Sierra soar overhead. I have to be going. Enjoy the wedding, ladies. Cloud nodded, taking off again, back toward the mountain range. Fenrir ran parallel with the airship as he shot up toward the jagged cliffs. He cut his eyes to the airship that lowered altitude and circled toward the large cliff he was racing toward. He bit his lower lip and held his breath as he punched the accelerator and leaned forward. Don't mess this up, Sid, Cloud breathed before Fenrir jumped from the cliff toward the in-motion airship. Don't look down, Cloud said to himself as the cycle left the ground and flew through the air toward the airship, landing roughly on the wooden plank deck and spinning around where the rear wheel of bike slammed against the far railing. What a rush, Cloud breathed before he dismounted and rolled the bike inside the airship. You're getting better, Sid, Cloud said as he entered the Sierra's bridge. I only just barely landed on the deck this, Sid. Cloud stopped dead when he saw his old friend and ally not at the controls of the airship. If he's not piloting, he asked, glancing around the room. There was Marlene and her father Barrett, the red, lupine-looking Red 13 with the mechanical toy Kate Sith on his back, Vincent in his usual corner with his red cloak wrapped around him, and Tifa leaning against the communications controls talking with Sid's wife Shira. How'd I do, Cloud? Denzel asked from the control seat of the ship. All color drained from Cloud's features. You okay, Cloud? Tifa asked, grinning in amusement as Cloud's almost glowing blue eyes widened as far as they could go. Cloud stared at the boy, as his Adam's apple rose and fell slowly in his throat. Why you were flying, Denzel? Aha. Did I do okay? The boy asked excitedly. Excuse me, he said, running out of the bridge holding his mouth. Silence on the bridge held for a moment longer before everyone except the red-cloaked Vincent in the corner burst out laughing. I better go check on him, Tifa giggled. Ya did good, kid, Sid Highwind patted Denzel on the head. Now swing this thing's fat ass around and take us east by southeast. The blonde-headed airship captain laughed at the glare his wife sent him, before lighting a cigar. I know, Shira, like my dad always said, best to start, out young. A moment later, everyone flew off their feet and tumbled across the bridge as the ship whipped around at full speed. Daddy! Marlene yelled as Barrett caught her. Shoot him, she yelled, pointing to her grinning like a possum best friend. Next time I say spin around, kid, do it slowly. Sid shook his head as he pulled himself to his feet. Now, why not let me take it from here, Sid said, lifting the child from the control chair and setting down himself. Wutai Village. What in God's name happened here? Sid asked as the group made their way through the decimated Wutai village. I don't think Weapon did this much shit, Barrett said as he walked with the two kids riding on his shoulders. Yuffie. Cloud said with a sigh as he led the group. Oh, you hurried, thank goodness, Godo said as he ran out to meet the group once known as Avalanche. What happened here? Tifa asked, looking around at the destruction. It's not as bad as it looks. Yuffie just needs to work on her summoning control. Godo nodded. Why do we not start at the beginning? Vincent said in his usual soft, cold voice. It's quite hard to explain really, yet it's very simple, Godo explained setting down. You see, Yuffie is not my daughter by any blood relation. Then whose pack is she from, if not yours? Red 13 asked, tilting his head slightly. Around 13 years ago, a friend of mine, Arashi Uzumaki came with his younger sister. He was the leader of the hidden ninja village of the Leaf. They were facing a very dangerous crisis with a powerful monster and he wanted his 5-year-old sister out of harm's way. Godo explained. Yuffie. Tifa nodded in understanding. I promised the Hokage that I would watch over his sister as if she was my own daughter, Godo continued. He placed a seal on her memories, blocking them until the 18th anniversary of her birth. On that day, today, I would give her the headband of her native village. Touching that would return the memories of her past in clarity. So what went wrong? Barrett asked. She got unsettled by the revelation. Godo rubbed the bridge of his nose, quite unsettled. Cloud glanced around at the destruction.
You don't say?
I recall she pulled the Watai headband off and threw it at my feet, Goto continued. She clinched the headband of Konoha village, trembling. If I recall her words, she said, "Ni-chan, I'm going to kick your ass." She then summoned the Leviathan, which caused the rampant destruction you see around you, as she rode it out to sea and onto the western ninja states.
So what do you want us to do? Cloud asked evenly.
I fear what has happened to her, as I haven't heard from Arashi in 13 years. I do not even know if there still exists a village hidden in the leaves. Would you like to follow her and help her find her family, if she has any left? She's our friend, Goto, she's been there for all of us when we battled Sephiroth and then his 3 clones. Tifa nodded, glancing to the others who nodded in agreement. She should know that we will help her out no matter what. Thank you all, Goto bowed humbly. I am sure you all know, as much as I do, that Yuffie is quite prone to trouble.
We better hurry, then. Yuffie's got quite a bit of a head start, Tifa said as they all stood and bid farewell to the old cage. What are they up to, yo? A red-headed man with goggles in a messy suit asked, peeking up from behind a tree. Can ya hear anything, rude?
Nope, gotta teach Cloud to speak up when he talks, the taller, bald man in a nicer suit and tie and sunglasses replied. Did catch something about the eastern ninja states, whatever that means. Should we tell the boss?
He wanted to know what those avalanche losers were up to. Reno nodded. Looks like we going on a trip, yo. Let's head back and report to the boss first, before you get us killed, Rude said, leading the shorter redhead behind him back to their speedboat at the side of the island. Village hidden in the leaves. So, what do we know? Tsunade, the 5th Hokage of the village hidden in the leaves, asked, sitting back at her desk. The sound doesn't seem that active right now, Kakashi replied, with a nod toward the attractive blonde who led the village. But it is clear that Sasuke is now a follower of Orochimaru. Damn, Tsunade exhaled. I know this probably isn't the best time to ask, but how's Naruto doing? Haruka asked. His eyes showed with dark circles under them, almost reaching the scar across his face.
He's badly hurt, Haruka. Even with his healing powers, his lung was punctured and his ribcage was almost completely shattered. Tsunade nodded, but he will recover. With his powers plus our healing jutsus, he should be back on his feet in a week or 2.
So, what are we going to do about Orochimaru and the sound? Kakashi asked, as the door swung open. Hokage-sama, we have a situation, and Anbu breathed as he leaned against the door.
A moment later, the ceiling of the Hokage's office splintered as a massive blue head slammed through, roaring. What the heck? Tsunade yelled as she and the 2 other ninja present took fighting stances. Hiya, Yuffie called out as she jumped down, holding her large windmill star in her grasp. Okay, I'll make this short and sweet. I'm looking for the Hokage. Do you have an appointment? Tsunade asked confidently, putting her hands on her hips. Look, gallon jug girl, I ain't got any tiff with you, but the Hokage and I got some business to work out. Yuffie shot, glancing around the room.
What did you call me? Tsunade asked, a vein starting to throb in her forehead.
I didn't stutter, Yuffie replied, tossing her star into the air playfully. Gallon jug girl, cause, well, those are at least a gallon apiece. You ever have a kid? They definitely won't go hungry. Yuffie glanced back at the Leviathan. Oh, bout forgot about you buddy. Thanks for the lift, she said, lifting her gauntlet with the glowing materia sphere. A moment later, the massive sea monster disappeared into the air. Okay, I'm tired of waiting. Where's Arashi Uzumaki? His ass has an appointment with my foot. Arashi Uzumaki has been dead for 13 years, little girl, Kakashi replied, narrowing his good eye at the girl.
What? Yuffie took a step back. Ni-chan, you're wrong, no. He speaks the truth. The 4th Hokage died fighting a demon called Kyuubi, Tsunade said, walking around the table. I know you. You definitely have the Uzumaki spunk, Yuffie. Huh? Yuffie asked, still shell-shocked from the news. It has been a long time. You were barely out of diapers. Tsunade placed a hand on the girl's shoulders as a group of Anbu came storming in. Go back to your stations, Tsunade ordered the soldiers. She's one of us. Hi, Hokage-sama, the Anbu nodded and eased out of the room. You're the Hokage? Yuffie asked, not making eye contact. Never would have guessed. I mean, large chest, blonde hair. Didn't think they let dingy blondes become Hokage. Your brother sacrificed himself for the village, the world, and for you. Tsunade tightened her grip on the girl's shoulder. And don't try to hide your being upset with dumb jokes and put downs like your baka of a nephew. Nephew? Naruto's okay? Yuffie asked, looking up at the older woman hopefully.
Haruka, Kakashi, that'll be it for today. Meet back here tomorrow after they fix my roof, Tsunade said to the two Junin standing in the office, more than a bit confused by the scene. Sorry about that, anyway, Naruto has had better days, but he is alive and alright. Want to meet him?
Ino and Sakura moved quickly to the front desk of the hospital, worried expressions gracing both their pretty faces. I'll go see Choji, how about you? Ino asked, glancing to her pink-haired friend. I'll go ahead to Naruto, then Sasuke-kun. Sakura nodded and ran toward Naruto's room.
She paused at the door when she heard voices from inside. She took a slight peek inside through the cracked door and gasped when she saw Naruto sitting up, wrapped in bloody bandages. Throughout their missions, she had never seen her blonde-headed companion seriously injured, and seeing him as such was a serious shock to the system. Naruto couldn't be hurt, period. End of story.
So, everyone's safe, Naruto said softly. That's good. Big idiot, Sakura mentally scolded. How did you get so hurt? Once I find out who did this to you, they'll get it. And Sasuke, Naruto's friend Shikamaru asked awkwardly. Yeah, Naruto's voice drifted off, before rising in anger, he got away. Sakura froze, staring at the door. She wasn't sure how long she stood there. It could have been seconds, minutes, or even hours before she was brought out by an annoyed voice. Are you my nephew's girlfriend? Excuse me. Sakura blinked at Yuffie, who was looking her up and down. There is just no way could you be my Naruto-kun's woman, I mean, look at you. No fashion sense, pink hair, I mean, how fake is that, and look at that forehead. Yuffie stated, walking around the girl. What did you say? Sakura bellowed, her eyes flashing dangerously. Well, you are spirited. That'll make for fun sex when you're old enough, Yuffie noted, rubbing her chin as Tsunade placed her hand over her eyes in frustration. Why you? Sakura growled, grinding her teeth together. Sakura-chan. Is that you? Both girls froze. Naruto? Sakura asked softly as she timidly walked into the room. I heard you were badly hurt, brat, Tsunade said, walking in and holding up a hand to slow Yuffie down. You seem okay to me. Sakura-chan, Naruto said, ignoring Tsunade. I'm sorry, I know I promised, but, I'm sorry. Hey, brat, got someone else out here who'd like to see your ungrateful hide. Tsunade interrupted his angsty tirade.
Huh, who? Naruto perked up curiously. He glanced up to see an 18-year-old young woman he had never seen before in his life staring at him with a trembling lip and tears in her brown eyes. Who's that Tsunade-ba-chan?
Oh, my sweet Naru-kun. Yuffie bellowed before barreling toward the bedridden ninja. Nani? Naruto's eyes widened as the strange girl grabbed him and pulled his face into her chest, rocking him back and forth, muttering so quickly and softly he had no idea what she was saying. Hey, take it easy, you're going to hurt him again. Sakura yelped, taking a step toward the two, only to be stopped by Tsunade placing a hand on her shoulder. Naruto, this is your father's younger sister, Tsunade said, causing Naruto's eyes to widen even farther, and his struggling to stop despite his lack of oxygen. Oba-san? Naruto breathed, before pulling away from the crying girl. Aren't you a little young? Twack. Show some respect for your auntie, you little twerp. Yuffie scolded, you're just as obnoxious and rude as your stupid father. Twerp. You're one to talk. Naruto shot back. You're just a flat-chested, little girl. I mean, you make Sakura look like Tsunade. Twack. 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 With the sound of a triplet strike on a drum, 3 fists came down on a single skull, sending him into a dazed slumber. Don't you just love family reunions? Tsunade smiled at Sakura.
Oh, a soft timid voice came from the door. Yuffie turned to see another new girl with short dark hair and unique snow-white eyes dressed in a large jacket and shorts. Oh, she murmured, still staring wide-eyed at the prone starry-eyed Naruto in the bed. Naruto-kun.
It's not as bad as it looks, Hinata, Tsunade said to the girl, who continued to stare at Naruto as if she didn't hear her. Naruto-kun's hurt? She breathed before her eyes rolled back into her head and she collapsed like a rag doll on the floor.
Tsunade rushed toward the suddenly unconscious girl as Sakura, Yuffie, and Shikamaru stared in surprise and, in some cases, amusement. Ah, my Naru-kun's a playa. Yuffie pulled the prone boy's body into another hug. I'm so proud. Sakura twitched as she watched the girl glomp Naruto's unconscious body, before turning to the unconscious Hinata, scowling slightly. I'm out of here. Sakura waved. When he wakes up, tell the idiot I'll be back tomorrow. So troublesome. Shikamaru shook his head. Southeast of the western ninja states. Tifa walked back to the dormitories on the back of the Sierra. Marlene? Where's Denzel? She asked the little girl laying on her choice bed. He said he wanted to look around some more, but I was sleepy so I stayed here, Marlene yawned.
He's not going to get in trouble, is he? Doubt it. Tifa patted the girl's head. It's hard to get lost and the important places where he could get in trouble are locked off. Tifa leaned forward and kissed the girl's forehead. We should arrive at the village around noon tomorrow. But Denzel, Marlene tried to argue, is probably bugging Cloud for sword lessons. Tifa smiled. Go to sleep. I'll wake you when we get there. Tifa left the girl and walked up to the deck to find Cloud assembling first Tsurugi. Cloud? He's alive. Cloud said strangely, his eyes focusing toward the horizon. I can feel him. You stopped him with the last of the clones, Tifa said approaching him. I know, Cloud, he's gone. Tifa touched his arm. He's not coming back. We thought that once before, too. Naruto slowly came back to consciousness, hearing a vaguely familiar tune.
He slowly opened his eyes to see the girl from the night before seated beside his bed. He watched her for several moments as she thumbed through a magazine. Oh, Naru-kun, you're awake. The girl's bright, brown eyes turned to him as a grin spread across her face. It got a little crazy last night, so I didn't get to properly introduce myself to you, she said in an almost nervous and speedy tone. I'm Yuffie. I'm your dad's sister, so that makes me your aunt. I caught that last night, Naruto said, his blush hidden under his bandages. Well, the part about you being my aunt. Oh, yeah, I guess you did. Yuffie blushed and looked at the floor. Sorry about, yeah, that with my fist colliding with your head and all, she let out a trembling breath. This sure is awkward when it's just the two of us, huh?
You were humming something. I heard it before, Naruto said awkwardly, avoiding eye contact.
Oh, you, remember that? She stared at the boy with wide eyes. When you were a baby, your dad let me hold you not long after you were born. You wouldn't stop crying with him, and almost didn't with me, until I started humming that little song I made up and you conked right out. Even when your idiot dad blocked my memories with a seal, I still remembered that little song.
You're really my aunt, aren't you? Naruto narrowed his eyes to study the young woman. I'm your dad's sister, Yuffie nodded, before glancing at the boy with a mix of fear and hope. I'd like to be your aunt, if you'd let me. I'd like that, Naruto nodded with a smile. Yuffie sniffled and rubbed her eyes. This is a damned medical center, she choked out with a smile. They need to do something about the dust in here. You said it, Naruto said, rubbing his own eyes. The mood was broken when a knock sounded at the door. It's me. Sakura's voice sounded through the door. You decent, Naruto? I'll leave you two alone, Yuffie said standing up. Besides I need to talk to Gallon Jug Hokage about something. So, I'll be back later, okay, Naru-kun? Yuffie? Naruto asked, catching her attention.
Yuffie asked, glancing back at her nephew. Later, could you tell me a little about my dad? Naruto asked hopefully. Yuffie smiled and gave a quick nod and a wink. Gotta go, can't keep your girlfriend waiting, she said, turning back toward the door.
She's not oh, never mind, Naruto sighed as he fell back into his pillow. Sakura passed Yuffie coming in. I can't believe someone as annoying as that's related to you, Naruto, Sakura said, before blinking at Naruto. Then again.
Ha, Naruto said dryly. Guess who's the Hokage's new apprentice, Naruto? Sakura said lifting her chin proudly. Always knew Ino had it in her. Naruto grinned. You idiot, Sakura growled, flexing her fist in front of Naruto's face, but restrained herself from hitting him. I repeat, I am the apprentice to the Hokage Tsunade-sama. Congratulations, Sakura-chan, Naruto smiled, but Sakura could see a difference in the smile she was seeing now and the one she saw before Sasuke's betrayal. I'm sorry, Naruto whispered, breaking her out of her thoughts. I couldn't bring him back this time. I'm sorry for disappointing you, Sakura-chan. What's with you sitting in the dark? Sakura said, trying to change the subject. She moved quickly to the window and pulled the blinds open. Sakura, there, all better, Sakura said as light shined into the room, even though a few dark clouds were appearing in the distance. Looks like a storm's brewing. Sakura, I'm trying to say I'm sorry for letting Sasuke get away. Naruto yelled, finally getting her to look his way. And for a brief moment, she looked as if she was going to cry before a friendly smile crossed her features. It's okay, Naruto, she said, glancing back out the window. It was a lifelong promise, Sakura, Naruto said, catching her eye again, flashing a real, Naruto, smile. So sooner or later, it's gonna happen. That's my way of the ninja. Believe it. Just this time, don't be stupid and go after him alone, Sakura said, walking over to the seat Yuffie vacated. We'll get him back as a team. Got it, idiot. Loud and clear, Naruto laughed before the door flew open and the rest of the Rookie 9 and Team Guy members rushed into the room. Sakura and Naruto glanced around the group, most of which were still bandaged and looked like they needed to be in a hospital bed more than Naruto. What's going on? Guy-sensei ordered us all to gather in your room, Lee said, looking out the window. Something's happening, guys, Tenten leaned against the wall. Someone's after you, Naruto, and we're supposed to be the last line of defense. Defense from what? Sakura asked. We don't know, Hinata said softly. Probably nothing major. Naruto waved it off. I bet a ramen dinner it's a drill. Ibiki hit the ground with dilated eyes and blood oozing from a deep cut across his chest. The long silver-haired man stepped over him as if he wasn't there before turning to Guy, Kakashi, Kurenai, and Inoichi. Do you wish to fight me as well? Sephiroth asked, the bloody Masamune held at his side. Kurenai was the first to attack, moving in a series of jutsus but none connecting. Is this the best your village can offer? Sephiroth asked, slashing the Masamune across Kurenai's face, sending her to the ground yelping in pain. Next, Sephiroth asked, smiling slightly at the remaining three. I have no idea why you decided to attack my hometown, but I will tell you this, Guy said taking a fighting stance. Despite your fashionable outfit and well-managed hair, you're going down. Guy rushed the intruder and with a series of punches and kicks and a few actually connected. Too bad they seemed to have little effect. You're skilled, Sephiroth said, catching Guy's arm with his own. But you are still weak, he said, twisting his arm in such a way it snapped in 3 places. Inoichi was next to try his luck. In a single move, Sephiroth forced his long sword through his abdomen and jerked it out his side. Inoichi fell to the ground in a bloody heap. I give you the option of running away, Shinobi, Sephiroth said, turning to the stunned Kakashi. We shall see who runs away, stranger, Kakashi said lifting his headband to reveal his Sharingan eye. Sharingan, I have heard of this ability. They say you can see my every move before I make it. Sephiroth lifted his blade. I look forward to testing this. Kakashi studied the stranger for a moment before making his move. The two danced for a few moments, but even with the Sharingan, the attacker was still too fast. I have to end this quick, he thought, preparing a Chidori. See you in hell, Kakashi whispered before launching a Chidori dead center of the man's chest, but only hit the sharpened edge of the Masamune. Kakashi screamed as he cut his own hand almost to the wrist. Foolish, Sephiroth said, before striking him in the face with the handle of his massive katana. Sephiroth continued on toward the first buildings of the village. He glanced to the left before bringing his sword up to impale the massive dog running at him, and using the animal's momentum to slam it through the stone-walled building beside him, silencing its yelps of pain. Kuromaru, a brutish feminine voice called from above Sephiroth. He lazily glanced up at the Amazon-like woman. Was that your dog? Sephiroth asked coldly. Soon jumped from her rooftop post in an almost feral rage, only to be caught in the face by Sephiroth's open palm, then slammed into the hard street. He held her there again then lifted her high enough to slam her again. He stepped over her still slightly twitching body on toward the hospital. A dagger hit the ground at his feet as he hit the central part of the city. Iruka, Anko and Ebisu formed the next line of defense. Back away, pal, Iruka said, narrowing his eyes on the strange man. You care for him, Sephiroth said, looking into Iruka's eyes. I will spare your life, so you can suffer through the knowledge that you couldn't save him. You, bastard, I won't let you touch Naruto. Iruka growled, clenching his fists. I am still standing here, Sephiroth said with no emotion. Stop me. Don't let him screw with your head, Iruka, Anko said, clutching a dagger in her hand. Talk later, fight bad guy now, Ebisu said as he jumped at the silver-haired man, only to be slashed by the massive dagger. His broken sunglasses hit the ground before his unconscious body. A gentleman would say ladies first, Iruka said, turning to the dark-haired Junin, but you're definitely no lady, and I've been around Naruto long enough to lose all parts of being a gentleman. He said before shoving her back and diving at Sephiroth with a spinning kick. You fight with all your heart, Sephiroth said, catching him by the ankle, that makes it much more enjoyable to beat you. He said, using him as a human whip against the stone street. Sephiroth cocked his head to the side as he stared at Anko. Are you prepared for the livestream? Anko roared as she ran toward him, and Sephiroth prepared to slash, but only cut through what appeared to be a blur. What do we have here? Sephiroth asked, glancing around. Go help the others, Jiraiya said, sitting Anko down a safe distance away as he stood next to Tsunade. We've met before, Sephiroth said, glancing at Jiraiya. Nibelheim, right, Sephiroth smirked. I spared you once. You won't get the same gift again. Jiraiya and Tsunade leapt into action. Jiraiya threw an easily blocked kick. This gave Tsunade a window to punch him full force in the face. Sephiroth's head snapped to the side from the force of the blow and stepped 3 steps to the side in recoil. Tsunade's eyes widened, as that punch would have been enough to level a mountain and it only left a small bruise on the man's cheek.
You are stronger than you appear, woman. Sephiroth smiled at Tsunade, a smile that sent shivers down her spine. Don't let him goad you, Tsunade, Jiraiya warned, but she was already in motion again.
Tsunade threw another mountain-crushing punch right toward Sephiroth's face, which he caught in his free hand with ease. Yes, you are very strong, Sephiroth smiled as he began to squeeze tighter, and tighter, her face before contorted in anger, now twisted in pain she hadn't felt for many decades as the bones in her fist began to pop and break. Now die, Sephiroth whispered before shoving his sword through her stomach and out her back.
No! Jiraiya yelled, running at Sephiroth's back. Sephiroth spun around, with Tsunade still limply hanging on the blade, and blocked Jiraiya's dagger with the bloody blade.
Sephiroth knocked the legendary warrior back before swinging his sword, sliding the injured Tsunade off and throwing her toward her friend. Tsunade collided with Jiraiya, knocking them both to the ground.
Hold it right there. Yuffie stood between Sephiroth and the hospital entrance. She held her throwing star out before her as she focused all her strength into this one last-ditch attack, her greatest and most difficult limit break.
Do you not have Cloud to hide behind anymore, little girl? Sephiroth smiled as he stopped 10 feet before the girl. He seemed unaffected at the gathering energy forming directly in front of her.
I don't need Cloud to hide behind, Sephiroth, Yuffie growled before letting her all-creation attack fly. The massive iridescent light beam slammed into Sephiroth and sent him flying backwards through the air.
Yuffie watched as he hit the ground and laid there. Did I get him? She panted worriedly, only to gulp loudly when he pulled himself up on one knee, glaring angrily at her. Ah, man, that was my best shot. Yuffie saw him running toward her. She dropped into a defensive position and braced herself. This is gonna hurt.
What do you think is going on? Sakura asked, glancing around the packed hospital room.
Don't know, Tenten said as she glanced out the window. What she saw made her gasp and duck. Incoming, she yelled as Yuffie's body flew through the window, shattering it, hitting the far wall and sliding to the floor.
I was right, that really hurt, she wheezed before shakily pulling herself to her feet.
She glanced around the room before singling out Choji and Neji. You two, you look the most hurt. Get Naruto and run. Take his girlfriends with him, so you'll have a better chance if he catches up, Yuffie ordered. What's going on? Naruto asked, sitting up. The devil himself wants you, and I, for one, am not going to let him near you, Yuffie said, wincing when she pulled a piece of glass from her shoulder. Naruto pulled the bandages off his face. Like I'm going to run. I'm Uzumaki Naruto and I am the future Hokage of the village. I'm not going to run like a coward while everyone else stays and fights. He was cut off when Yuffie quickly crossed the room and slapped him firmly across the face.
You don't get it, do you? Yuffie asked, her shoulders rising and falling quickly.
This isn't a game, this is Sephiroth. He doesn't care who he has to step on and kill to get what he wants. And he wants you. I don't know why, I don't even know if he wants you alive or not. But I can guarantee it's not to invite you for a ramen dinner. She closed her eyes. There's only been one man who has ever been able to beat him in one-on-one combat, and even then, it was close. I don't think anyone here has a chance.
We meet at last, Container, a voice called from the window. The teenagers turned to see the silver-haired monster hunched in the broken window frame. Container? Hinata asked, softly glancing to Naruto.
So, another psycho wants the Kyuubi, huh? Naruto said, standing up from the bed and popping his neck. Should be getting used to this, crazies come in all different shapes and colors. Kyuubi, chorused majority of the rookies and guy team. Yeah, I figure we're all about to die anyway, Naruto grinned at his friends. Gotta go with a clean conscience, right?
Your friends can go and live until I'm finished with the planet at least, Sephiroth said, pointing his sword to the loud-mouthed blonde. I only want you. I'm a soldier, meaning I'm both defendant and judge. No, Yuffie said standing in front of the boy. He's my family, and you'll have to kill me first.
Yes, Hinata said stepping up beside Yuffie and taking a fighting stance. You will not harm my Naruto-kun. I'm standing on both sides of the fire. Going around turns, overtaking death and life. Naruto's got a promise to keep, Sakura winked to her friend, so, you can just go back to whatever goth convention you came from. I'm running to fight with the shadow of a lie. No matter how many threads deception would weave. Without hesitation, the rest of the Rookie 9 and Guy team stepped in front of Sephiroth.
Truth will show its face of light, Naruto's one of us, Lee said, rolling his neck. You mess with one of us, Tenten said, drawing a pair of throwing daggers. You mess with all of us. Neji finished, taking a stance similar to Hinata's. Take the freak down, Ino bellowed as the youngest Chunin candidates in the history of Konoha rushed the most dangerous warrior in recorded history. It's time to stand. Save your tears for the day when our pain is far behind. Buy me some time, Lee yelled at his friends, before backing away to focus his energy. Tenten looked worriedly at her teammate before nodding and leapt into the air toward the intruder. Sephiroth raised his sword to deflect a melee attack, but at the last second Tenten threw a barrage of throwing stars from her sleeves, forcing the madman back toward the window. It's time to fight, on your feet, come with me, we are soldiers, stand or die. Let's get him, girls, Sakura yelled as she and Ino rushed him, faking a punch toward stomach to cover a double swift kick between the legs, as Hinata leapt over them to kick him in the face with both feet. Shikamaru and Choji spun around toward and snapped with a roundhouse kick right to Sephiroth's chest, pushing him against the broken window frame. Never fear. Save your fears, take your place, save them for the Judgment Day. Neji shot forward for his turn as he slammed into the man with a series of rapid blows to the chest before kicking back out of his range. We rise again. Fast and free, follow me, time to make the sacrifice.
We rise or fall. Doom of the living, Yuffie called out as she shot forward with another limit break, this time slashing Sephiroth with a series of strikes, finally knocking him back out of the third-story hospital window. Don't let up. Don't let him breath. Yuffie yelled as the group jumped from the window after the madman. Eris, if you can hear me and you're up for helping out a bit, get Cloud's spiky ass over here. She softly prayed before following the kids after Sephiroth. I'm a soldier, born to stand in this waking hell I am. Witnessing more than I can compute. Kiba used his Shikyaku no Jutsu and joined Shino to make the next wave, slamming into Sephiroth, trying to keep him down on at least one knee. A slash made Shino fall back, clinging his bleeding arm, and Sephiroth's fist connecting with Kiba's face sent him falling back. You children need discipline, Sephiroth growled, his eyes glowing even brighter as he plunged his sword into Kiba's abdomen. Pray myself we don't forget lies, betrayed and the oppressed. Please give me the strength to see the truth. Let's see what you're made of, Neji said as he activated his Byakugan and stared right at Sephiroth. As the eldest Hyuga saw the true form of the monster before him, his eyes and face showed absolute terror as he fell back on the ground. The sight of Sephiroth's true form caused the young ninja to scream in absolute horror as he crawled away from the silver-haired monster. People facing the fire together, Ino and Tenten rushed him next. Ino first threw a punch, but the older warrior caught her by her own ponytail and threw her by her hair back into Tenten, sending them tumbling to the ground. Shikamaru recovered Shino, and Choji rushed next, only to be sent flying into the not very giving wall of the hospital by a powerful blade beam. Tenten, a little help, Shikamaru yelled as he pulled himself from the dented wall, using his Kajimane no Jutsu to hold the attacker in his place by his shadow. Tenten nodded and threw a wire to tie up Sephiroth's sword. Sephiroth's eyes cut to Tenten as Ino pulled herself up to help hold him still with her Shinranshin no Jutsu. Choji, now. Cannonball, Choji yelled as he leapt high in the air, expanding his size to 3 times his normal size and weight as he flew. He landed butt first, right on top of Sephiroth. He glanced around at Shikamaru and the girls and smiled. I think I got him. He grinned before frowning. That's not good. Shikamaru, Tenten and Ino watched with wide eyes as Sephiroth rose back to a standing position, holding the massive Choji over his head with one hand. Most interesting, the 3 teenagers had no time to duck or run as the villain threw the massive ninja on top of the smaller, much frailer bodies. Even though he dropped his size mid-throw, Choji's weight was more than enough to wipe the 3 out. Who's next? He asked dully, turning to his next opponent. If we don't, we'll lose all we have found. I will not allow you to harm my friend, Rock Lee said, standing directly in front of the psychopath. His skin was swollen and red, and steam and energy rose off him in waves. You've learned how to unlock gates. Sephiroth gave a small smile. Not bad for a child. Are you willing to tear your body apart to protect your friend? 10 times over, Lee growled before launching his attack. Some punches and kicks landing, others barely missed, almost all of them leaving the sound of thunder from the force of the strikes. Sephiroth was being pushed back, but he was showing no signs that the landed blows were doing any physical harm. After a dream to the edge of a chasm, only that way can the world be saved. Are you done? Sephiroth asked calmly as he stared down at the young man. What? Lee breathed, glancing up at the man. Oh, shish, Lee started only to gasp in pain as Masamune sliced across his chest, cutting through cloth and skin. Due to the pressure he was putting on his own chakra and blood flow, crimson fluid literally exploded from his wound.
This is bad, Sakura gulped as she stood with Hinata, Naruto and Yuffie. Very bad. Don't you cry, hide the tears because a new day will start. Looks like it's our turn, Sakura, Hinata gulped, before turning to the blonde, who was watching the fight dumbfounded. Why yes, and Naruto-kun, we're fighting for you. Hinata? Naruto gulped, glancing to the shy girl in surprise. It is okay, Naruto-kun, Hinata said, and, in a rush of brashness, moved in to kiss him on the cheek. Just in case.
Your fire will be heated by thousands of hearts. Yuffie, Sakura and Hinata left the blonde watching in awe as they rushed the silver-haired man, punching, kicking, and slashing with everything they had left.
Yuffie was the first to be knocked to the side with a hard slash across the chest from Sephiroth's blade. A blade beam knocked Sakura and Hinata off their feet.
You pests have plagued me long enough, Sephiroth said, readying his sword to cut down the two dazed girls in one stroke. But now get up, hide the pain and fear far. Sephiroth swung his sword, but his eyes widened in surprise when a pair of young, glowing red hands clamped down on the blade.
No, Naruto growled, his eyes red and slanted as he stared up at the man attacking his village and friends. The one who's right will win. Know that everything is in your hands. Kid, are you stupid? This guy is going to kill us both. Kyuubi's voice cried out in Naruto's head, even at my full strength, I can't match Genova.
I don't care, Naruto growled, I won't let him hurt them. He whispered vaguely, before throwing the sword back with his full strength, pushing Sephiroth back 2 steps. Back off, pretty boy.
I need you alive, Sephiroth growled, alive can mean injured. Come get some, you long-haired hippie, Naruto shot back. Save your tears for the day when our pain is far behind.
Sephiroth snarled and slashed at Naruto, who used every bit of speed and agility he could muster from himself and the demon inside him. Are you trying to hurt the air? Naruto asked, dodging swipe after swipe. If you are, you're doing a great job.
The Kyuubi has made you powerful, child, Sephiroth said, slashing at the boy. On your feet, come with me, we are soldiers, stand or die.
Hey, be careful, that long freaky hair could trip ya up if you step on it. Naruto grinned at the psychopath, not noticing the man was moving him toward a wall. Probably hurt like a bitch if you jerked it out. Save your fears, take your place, save them for the judgment day. What's the matter, Sephi? Getting tired? Naruto laughed as he kept hoping backwards. Oh! He gasped when he unexpectedly hit the wall with his back. Fast and free, follow me, time to make the sacrifice. Naruto's eyes widened when he felt an intense pain and pressure hit him in the lower chest. He gasped when he felt himself pinned straight into the wall with the Masamune through his lower stomach. Hop around now, little fox, Sephiroth smirked evilly at the boy. We rise or fall, now, you will make yourself useful. Sephiroth said as he removed his glove from his hand and ran his palm along the razor's edge of the Masamune. With his other hand, he roughly grabbed Naruto's cheeks, forcing his mouth open, and then made a fist, forcing his blood to gather at the base of his palm. Leave him alone. 2 voices screamed from behind Sephiroth, and he turned quickly and caught Hinata and Sakura by the neck. You are getting on my final nerve, little girls, Sephiroth growled as he squeezed their windpipes roughly. He never even heard the motorcycle's engine roaring behind him as the fender slammed into his back, knocking him down. Hinata and Sakura gasped when they were knocked into the air only to be caught by the bike's rider, who brought the bike to a stop a few feet away from the silver-haired demon. Wah! Who are you? Sakura coughed as the spiky-haired rider sat the girls down on the ground gently before opening the bike's sword racks. Reinforcements, Cloud said, removing his sunglasses and drawing the first tsurugi from the rack. Cloud. Yuffie breathed a sigh of relief as she limped toward the biker. Thanks, Eris, I owe ya one, she added under her breath. Yuffie, Cloud said, not taking his eyes off his old nemesis. Why do you always get into these situations? What can I say, it's a gift, Yuffie laughed, before growing pale upon seeing her nephew. Naruto. She gasped, starting to go to him, but Cloud held his massive sword in her path. Good to see you, Cloud, Sephiroth said dryly as he jerked his sword from Naruto's body, letting him drop to the ground gasping in pain. What's it going to take to keep you where you belong, Sephiroth? Cloud growled, raising his sword into a fighting position. I will never be a memory, Sephiroth said, lifting his blood-stained sword, especially to you. I'd like that, Cloud said, lowering his stance. I'd like to forget you ever existed. Who is that guy?
Sakura asked as Sephiroth and Cloud stared intently into each other's eyes, both awaiting the other to make a move.
Cloud, and he's about to kick ass, Yuffie said, glancing from the two warriors to her nephew, who was still on the ground leaning against the wall. As soon as Cloud gets tall, dark, and creepy out of the way, get Naruto back into the hospital, okay?
A split second later, a thunderclap heralded the two massive swords' collision. What do you want that boy for, Sephiroth? You would not tell me your desire, Sephiroth said, bringing his blade roughly against Cloud's again. Why should I tell you mine? Cloud answered by bringing his sword to Sephiroth's with such intensity that the impact of the blades caused every window in a 6-block radius to shatter. You keep growing stronger, Cloud, Sephiroth growled, pushing his sword against Cloud's, making sparks fly from the pressure. And you're holding back, Cloud said before breaking the lock to slash and stab at his rival. Sephiroth blocked every attack and countered with some of his own, neither blade making physical contact with their opponent.
Sephiroth finally hit Cloud hard enough to send him flying back toward the center of the village, but with a stab to the ground Cloud slowed his flight and came to a stop. He just got the sword back up in time to deflect the flying sword beam sent soaring his way from the silver-haired monster.
Cloud, Yuffie whispered worriedly as she, Sakura, and Hinata watched the fight. We gotta help him, Sakura spoke up, starting to go toward the silver-haired man's back. Cloud can take care of himself, young lady. A soft voice spoke behind them. Tifa, you're here too. Yuffie cheered when she turned to see Tifa with Naruto's unconscious body cradled in her arms and his head lolled against her breast. We caught the tail end of the discussion. What's Sephiroth want with this guy? She asked, glancing down to the unconscious teenager in her arms.
I dunno, Yuffie bit her lip, glancing back to the two swordsmen clashing. All I know is, he's my family and I ain't letting that bastard touch another hair on his cute, little head, Yuffie said before freezing. Wait,
So you brought your friends? Sephiroth cut his eyes to behind Cloud where Barret, Vincent, and Sid were helping the injured ninja to the hospital as well as Red 13 with Kuromaru and Sume draped over his large back. Wasn't all I brought, old friend. Shira, do it. Cloud smirked as the sound of roaring engines filled the air and the Sierra roared overhead. Say hello to my little friends. A feminine voice spoke over the airship's speakers as several missile batteries opened and turned toward the silver-haired demon.
Sephiroth smiled as the missiles flew his way and managed to duck, dodge and jump all of them. I hope you weren't expecting to stop me with that pathetic attack. Sephiroth said from the cloud of smoke and dust.
His glowing eyes widened when the smoke and dust settled to find the disassembled blades of Cloud's sword floating all around him. Cloud.
Omnilash. Cloud bellowed and, in an amazing show of speed, took each of his blades and slashed at the monster with them. Sephiroth barely was able to deflect the attacks, a couple making contact, cutting into his armor and one actually cutting through the sleeve of his coat slicing his arm. The force of the attacks sent the silver-haired man tumbling backwards along the ground.
Cloud's blade flew back together as he landed a good distance away from the fallen demon.
Sephiroth fought back to his feet breathing heavily. I will not become a memory, the man growled clenching his sword tightly. No, not yet, he growled when he realized his hand was beginning to tremble. Pathetic, weak child, he growled before sheathing his sword and turning his back on Cloud. Your arrival was unexpected. We will meet again, Cloud.
Cloud started to go after him, but the demon disappeared quickly into the smoke and destruction. What are you up to? Cloud hissed as he spun his sword once over his head before sheathing it on his back. Cloud. Yuffie yelled, waving at the hero. Had a feeling where you traveled, trouble would follow, Yuffie, Cloud said approaching Yuffie, Tifa, and the two young girls.
That's not always true, Cloud. Yuffie complained, crossing her arms over her chest.
What's the damage here? Cloud asked glancing around as Jiraiya approached with a frail and unconscious old woman cradled in his arms. Tifa? Jiraiya blinked when he saw Tifa standing there, holding Naruto. Sensei. Tifa replied just as surprised. What are you doing here? They asked in unison. What am I doing here? What are you doing here? The two stood in awkward silence till it was finally broken. Soft pillow, Naruto murmured, nuzzling his face into Tifa's chest.
Sakura and Hinata both seemed to bristle as they reached and took the quickly healing Naruto from Tifa, Hinata grabbing his legs and Sakura wrapping her arms around under his. We'll get him inside where he can rest, Sakura said, glaring at Tifa before turning to Jiraiya. Who's the old mummy? She's. Jiraiya started to tell them exactly who she was, till he saw the troubled and pained frown on the old woman's withered, unconscious face. It's just an old woman from town in the wrong place at the wrong time during the attack. I know who she is, that's, Tifa started to say, but stopped when Jiraiya shook his head. Never mind, I was mistaken. Sakura, Hinata, come with me and let's get these two inside, then we need help the others get the injured inside the hospital, Jiraiya said, glancing to the two young girls. I'll send a message to the nin we have out on missions. We need all the support we can get.
I'm sure you'll be fine on your own, Cloud said, turning his back, missing the glare Tifa shot him. I'll help deal with Sephiroth. The rest is your problem, not mine.
Cloud, Yuffie said in an almost timid voice. This is my hometown, and that boy, he's my nephew, he's the only real family I have left, she said, nodding to the boy being carried into the hospital by the two girls. Cloud's cold eyes came down and were trapped by Yuffie's puppy dog look. Cloud narrowed his eyes, before looking away and pressing into his calm. Cloud to Sierra, land close by and bring the ship's supply of Phoenix Downs and elixirs. Also unload all our packed belongings. We're sticking around for a while, they need our help.
Thanks, Cloud. Yuffie squealed, throwing her arms around the mercenary's neck, giving him a tight hug.
Cloud shrugged as he glanced at Tifa, who had her arms folded across her chest. Okay, Yuffie, we have to help get your hometown organized then, Ahab has to hunt his white whale. She said, walking past the two. You've done it now, Baka, Yuffie said, following Tifa into the hospital. A few hours later, Kiba and his sister Hana walked through the hospital as he explained what happened. I'm glad Mother and Kuromaru will be all right, Hana said, looking forward to getting some fresh air after tending to the alpha male of her family's dog pack. That guy, he was dangerous, I mean, bad news doesn't start to sum it up, Kiba said as he and his sister walked, or limped in his case, toward the front entrance of the Konoha hospital. I just wish I could have been here to help, Hana said before glancing to her younger brother, shouldn't you be resting? Just a spring where the silver-haired guy threw me into a wall. Kiba shrugged, before they both froze at the sound of growling.
The siblings ran outside to see the 8 remaining dogs of their family pack outside their companions, and not a one of them seemed very happy.
What's going on? Shizune said, running out behind the two.
They want to know who hurt the alpha, Hana said, interpreting their growls and barks.
Guys, if you go after that guy now, you'll all be slaughtered, that guy's too strong, Kiba said to the pack. We need to stick together for now, he said, only getting growls and barks in reply, though most of the growls came from the eldest-born female of the pack, Tasuki. Tasuki growled again before turning and starting out of town, only to be tackled to the ground by a red blur. That is enough, Red 13 said in the dog's language, pressing his paw into Suki's throat.
Who are you? Suke growled, glaring up at the single-eyed red wolf. You're an outsider, how dare you interfere in pack business?
I am Nanaki of Cosmo Canyon, Red replied, keeping his one red eye focused on the female. I understand how you feel. I have lost my father and my pack, and I too wanted revenge, but to rush off heedlessly will only bring about dishonor to yourself and your pack and get yourself and all who follow you into battle killed. Your father is alive, he will recover, and should you still want revenge on the monster that injured him, do not rush headlong.
You should listen to the big, red guy, Kiba agreed. Why don't you guys go on home, and I'll come by with Hana to tell you everything, maybe even bring Kuromaru. Very well, Tasuki growled reluctantly, as Red 13 backed off and sat down humbly with his tail wagging slowly. The group watched the pack walked away from the hospital, and Red 13 waited till they were out of earshot before turning to Hana. Tasuki was her name, correct? Yes, that's her name, Hana said, glancing to the large red wolf. Does she, perhaps, he said, looking away bashfully, have a mate, or a prospective mate? Shoji gave a small smile when he found Ino standing on the rooftop of the hospital. Hey, Ino, you okay? He asked. Ino answered with a teary glare. I know, stupid question, but you'll be okay. The chubby ninja walked toward her with a bag. I made you some lunch. I'm not hungry, Ino answered shortly. You need to eat something to keep your strength built up, he said, holding it out to her.
Damn it, Shoji, I told you I'm not hungry, Ino snapped, grabbing the bag and throwing it across the roof. My dad's dead, and I just want to be left alone, okay? No, Shoji said stubbornly, crossing his arms over his chest. Excuse me? Ino asked in a mix of anger and shock. I said no, I am not letting you sit up here and grieve all by yourself, Shoji said with a firm nod. You're my teammate and one of the few friends I actually have. You and Shikamaru are the only real close friends I have, so I'm not turning my back on you now. I'm Ekunoichi, Ino said, turning her back, sniffling slightly. We're not supposed to cry and grieve in front of others. Nobody here but me,
Shoji said glancing around. But, Ino said glancing back, only to gasp when Shoji grabbed her into a crushing hug.
I'm not letting you go, till you have a good cry, Shoji said holding her tightly yet gently. So, anytime you're ready. Ino put up a fight for a few seconds before she finally pressed her face into her friend's chest, wrapped her arms tightly around him and shook with violent sobs as she finally let it all out. Shoji gently stroked her hair as she sobbed and howled into his chest. Let it all out, Ino-chan, let it all out.
Naruto slowly felt himself return to consciousness, as he was becoming accustomed to his hearing was the first to return.
Hey, are you stupid or something? He could hear Sakura's voice. You'll make him too hot if you keep piling on those blankets. That'll just make him sick.
Gee Gomen, I just didn't want him to get cold, Hinata's voice countered timidly. Hey, wait, don't do that, why you'll disturb him.
I'm just fluffing up his pillow so he won't wake up with a sore neck, Sakura snorted in reply, stop being such a mother hen.
I'm not the one fluffing his pee pillow, she replied in an almost bold counter. Wah? Sakura seemed taken back by the shot. Gee Gomen, I was out of line with that, Gomen Nasai. Hinata returned to her timidness.
Stop apologizing all the time for Pete's sake, Sakura groaned, I'm just shocked you might actually have a spine under that oversized jacket after all. It is a little chilly in here, Naruto glanced at the girls conversing over him.
Naruto. You're awake. The girls squeaked in unison to turn to see his life-filled blue orbs staring up at them with his trademark goofy smirk. Two pretty girls fussing over me, Naruto commented with a grin. I need to get beaten up more often. Hinata's skin in an instantly began to glow a hot, pinkish-red color as Sakura reached over and rustled Naruto's unruly blonde hair. Don't get used to it, Naru-kun, she smirked.
Hinata's blush vanished as her eyes turned to the pink-haired girl. I told you he'd get cold, but you didn't listen to me. While you're busy being mean to him, I'll fetch him another blanket. She said. Both Naruto and Sakura noticing her stuttering seemed to fade away as her glare at Sakura intensified. She turned to leave before they could question, and if one listened closely as she walked out of the room, they'd have heard Hinata mutter, Baka. Hinata went to the desk to pick up another blanket when a voice spoke up beside her. You're never going to get anywhere if you keep backing down like that. Hinata turned to see Tifa standing there leaning against the wall with her arms folded under her chest. Ms. Tifa, was it? Yeah, that's me. But if you're going to get that boy in there, you're going to have to work a lot harder than that, Tifa said, stepping away from the wall. How can I compete with Sakura-chan, Hinata said, dejectedly glancing to the door. She's a lot prettier than Emmy and Naruto-kun has liked her forever. Keep talking like that and you'll never get the boy, Tifa said, glancing from the door to the door. What you need to do is show the boy that you are as pretty if not prettier than Pinky. Tifa cupped her own chin. Nani? Hinata shrunk back from the inquisitive stare. What are you wearing under that jacket? Tifa asked, leaning forward to look into the girl's eyes. You sure you're all right, Naruto? Sakura asked after Hinata left them alone. Sore as hell, but I'll be okay, Sakura-chan, Naruto groaned as he rested back into the pillow. Don't worry, I'll stick around long enough to keep my promise to Ya. I won't go down before Sasuke's home. Naruto, Sakura felt like she had been struck from that one. Look, Naruto, she started to say but was interrupted by a knock on the door. I have the extra blanket for Naruto-kun, Hinata's voice sounded odd, almost confident. Sure, come on in, Sakura replied, but as the door opened Sakura's and Naruto's jaws dropped. Hinata sauntered into the room, swinging her hips slightly with her steps and her open jacket waving with her movements, revealing the black mesh top over a small, black bra once hidden under it. Hinata walked past the shocked Sakura and draped the blanket over the stunned Naruto. Are you still cold, Naruto-kun? Hinata asked, leaning toward the boy with her palms resting on his bed. Naruto just stared. I'll take that for a yes, she said, standing back up and turning her back to him. Then, while looking over her shoulder, she slowly slid her coat down from her shoulders on down her arms and back. Naruto gulped as she removed the jacket and draped it over him. There you go, Naruto-kun, you can hold on to that for a while, she said leaning forward again giving him a clean view down. I'm sorry for interrupting. I'll leave you two alone for now, she said, turning and walking back toward the door, stopping to wink at Sakura before exiting. The door shut, and for several seconds Sakura and Naruto stayed in silence. What the hell was that? Sakura asked, clenching her fists. I but know what tit into her, Naruto said in a mild daze. The next thing Naruto knew, he was flat on his back on the bed again with a throbbing head.
with Sakura sitting back down and grabbing her magazine, growling about stupid closet sluts.
Hinata was still leaning against the wall beside the door to Naruto's room, clutching her chest with both hands. Her heart was pounding and her eyes were wide as she gasped for breath. "I can't believe I just did that," she murmured as Tifa approached her.
"Get his attention?" Tifa asked with a knowing smile. I think, maybe, I think he licked my chest," she said the last part in one breath. "What was that?" Tifa asked, cocking her head to the side. "I can't believe it. Naruto looked at me," she half squealed, half whispered, turning very pink-cheeked. He stared at me, not like a friend, oh my god." "Easy, Hinata, breath in, breath out, deep breaths," Tifa said, moving quickly toward her when she started to slide down the wall.
Wow, Hinata's eyes moved around wildly as she continued to try to keep her breathing and heart rate steady.
"If it was too uncomfortable for you, you may want to back off the intensity," Tifa advised, rubbing her shoulder in an attempt to calm her down. "We don't need you hyperventilating."
"Screw that," Hinata barked, before shrinking back with a blush. No, I've never felt like that before. Ma made me feel, I don't know how it made me feel, but I liked it." "Made you feel sexy and desirable, huh?" she asked, and Hinata responded with a quick nod. "You're taking your first steps into a whole new world, my friend," Tifa smiled, patting her shoulder. "If you like, I could give you a hand with it." "Please," Hinata asked with a smile. "So you're the leader of this town?" Cloud asked as he, Barrett, Sid, and Shira sat before the desk of the Hokage's office as Tsunade sat weakly in her seat. She had regained enough of her energy to return her youthful appearance, but her wounds had yet to be fully healed. "Yes, I am the Hokage of this village," Tsunade nodded, glancing to Jiraiya. "I understand you and my old friend here have a history with the one who attacked this village."
"Yes, the one thing that is unusual about his attack here," Cloud said in his usual icy demeanor. "And that is, Cloud, is it?" Tsunade questioned the swordsman. "You're all still alive," Cloud replied, locking his cold gaze with the woman. "It is unlike him to leave survivors in his wake."
"Jiraiya," Tsunade asked her old friend. "Sephiroth wiped out the whole town of Nibelheim. I was lucky to get me and a local girl out of there, and she was almost killed," Jiraiya said seriously. "There was apparently one other survivor," Jiraiya added with a smirk toward the spiky-headed swordsman. "I remember a punk kid who stood up to the freak, and made me promise to keep the girl safe. Glad to see he made it out of there." "Nibelheim. You were in Nibelheim. When were you in Nibelheim?" Tsunade inquired, glaring at Jiraiya, before turning to Cloud. "You're from Nibelheim, you do look familiar."
"We've met before?" Cloud blinked at the Hokage curiously.
A moment later, the door opened, and Shizune, Tifa, and little Marlene walked into the office. "Sorry to interrupt, but we're missing one of our own," Tifa said, looking worriedly to Cloud. "Marlene couldn't find Denzel anywhere, so Zune and I went looking." "Cloud, we can't find Denzel anywhere."
"Don't worry, Tifa, I'll have the Anbu search the town and—" Tsunade stopped, staring at the woman. "Tifa? What are you doing here?" "Tsunade-sensei?" Tifa blinked. "You're the Hokage here?" "Tsunade-sensei." Jiraiya glanced from Tsunade and Tifa. "You trained under her too?" Jiraiya roared, pointing in shock at Tsunade. "Yeah, trained with her for 2 years, then she and Zune moved on around a year before you came to town. I didn't know you were a couple," Tifa said, glancing between the two closely standing senin.
Jiraiya gasped and Tsunade, forgetting and ignoring her wound, shot to her feet. "What, Tiffany Lockhart, you watch your mouth. How could you even? That's the most disgusting, perverse thing I have ever heard, and you trained under this freak. Did he try to get you to pose for his perverted books?" "I just soon date a wild chocobo." Jiraiya crossed his arms. "At least they actually look how they're supposed to look. And Ichi Ichi Paradise is not a perverted book series. It's a work of art." "I wouldn't say work of art, Jiraiya-sensei," Tifa said, making Tsunade smile only to wipe it right back off. "But it is good reading."
"Where'd I go wrong?" Tsunade's side hid her face.
While this interchange took place, Shizune approached Cloud and was staring intently at him. Have we met before, mister?" Tifa suddenly turned pale when she saw the wheels turning in Shizune's mind. "Zune, he's one of my friends from Nibelheim. He wasn't really in our running group, and you never really got to know him too well," she said quickly, but Shizune waved her off. "Hey, I recognize you now. You were the little pudgy loser that always followed Tifa around," Shizune said, nodding. "Tifa always complained about you stalking her. Bet if she knew how you turned out looks-wise she'd never have complained." "Shizune!" Tifa and Tsunade shouted, though Tsunade had to back down due to pain from her wound.
It's okay, Cloud said, giving Tifa his usual cold look. I'm going to look for Denzel. Barrett can handle this, he said, walking past Tifa and on out of the office. What? I was just calling it how I remember, Shizune said dejectedly. And this is why you're still single, Tsunade said to Shizune before turning to the remaining Avalanche members. So, what do you think really happened? A voice spoke from under the square box drawn on to make it look like a rock. I dunno, Udon, if we can find the boss, we can find out though, another voice spoke up. What's that?
Move where I can see. Ouch, Miyogi. Oh, it's just a kid. The three Konohamaru Corps members threw the box off and surrounded the boy laying in the grass just outside the Konoha village. The three children, Konohamaru, Udon, and Miyogi began to poke and look over the boy. He doesn't have a ninja forehead protector. But he does have a cut on his arm, pretty deep one too. What ya think happened?
Marlene? The boy whispered, opened his eyes to look up at Miyogi.
Huh, Miyogi pointed to herself in confusion. No, my name's Miyogi, I think one of those outsiders who showed up earlier is named that though. You know,
Huh? Outsiders? How'd I get off the airship? He blinked sitting up.
Let's get you back to the village, Konohamaru said as he and Udon helped the boy to his feet. The name's Konohamaru, that's Udon and you've met Miyogi. What's your name?
Denzel, Denzel replied. Welcome to Konoha, the village hidden in the leaves, Konohamaru said as they led him toward the village.
Sakura awoke early and was making her way to the Hokage's office when she saw Naruto helping a group of nin and civilians carry a large, overturned sign. Naruto, what are you doing? She yelled scoldingly as she ran after them.
Just helping out, Naruto smiled as he continued with the group. You should be in bed recovering, Naruto, you're not fully healed yet, Sakura growled, following along behind him. Says who? Naruto asked evenly. Says the fifth Hokage's apprentice, that's who, Sakura yelled, her cheeks flushing with anger. Yeah, so? Naruto asked as the group finally stopped at the long-closed bar. Okay, guys, on the count of 3, the leader said as he placed the sign on a winch, lift and push, 1, 2, 3, heave.
Naruto and the group pushed hard and got the large, wooden, 7th heaven, sign on the front of the bar. But, as soon as it was clear, Naruto dropped to one knee and gripped his chest, coughing roughly. See, stupid, you're still hurt, and you're just going to make it worse if you don't take it easy, Naruto, you are such a nitwit. Sakura scolded as she helped him back to his feet, but didn't let go. With someone like you, you'll never need enemies. She ranted as she pulled him inside the newly opened bar. I swear, Naruto, when you become Hokage, it'll be the shortest reign in history. You'll probably kill yourself working hurt.
Naruto stiffened and turned to stare at Sakura. What was that, Sakura-chan? You're probably going to kill yourself working hurt like a complete idiot, Sakura said, pulling him onto the bar. No, before that, you believe I'm going to be Hokage? Naruto asked in more than a bit of shock as Sakura pushed him on a stool. Well,
you haven't stopped yet, so I doubt you ever will. Unbutton your jacket, pull up your shirt, and let me look at you. Sakura said, rubbing her hands together to build up her chakra. You're a goofball doofus, but you're dependable and determined. I always thought you just hated my guts, Sakura-chan, Naruto said good-naturedly while closing his eyes and scratching the back of his head. With his eyes closed, he missed the split second of hurt that flashed through Sakura's eyes. Sakura performed a few hand signs before placing her hands over Naruto's still vaguely scarred chest. She closed her eyes and focused her power into his wound and held it for a few moments before pulling back. There, how's that? All better, Naruto said roughly, pounding his chest, causing him to double over coughing. Naruto. Sakura yelped worriedly, helping him sit back up. Naruto-kun, that sounds like your lungs are still weak. Hinata appeared from behind the bar. Hold on a second. Sakura watched bewildered as she went to work pouring several bottles of clear fluids together into a mug. Where the hell did she come from? She mentally thought as the shy Hyuga clan member quickly moved around from behind the bar to stand before Naruto, trembling slightly. Here you are, Naruto-kun. This should help ease any pain in your lungs, it's my own formula. Hinata gave a shy smile and blush. Naruto took the mug and took a small sip first, then smiled brightly. Hinata-chan, this is really tasty. He gulped down the whole contents. Wow, it's really helping, too, he said, smiling brightly, causing Sakura to scowl. I had it under control, Hinata, Sakura said, forcing a smile, though, I'm sure Naruto appreciates your helping me help him. That last sentence struck a chord in Hinata as she turned to the pink-haired Kunoichi with a small blaze in her white eyes. Odd, seems what you didn't help Naruto-kun at all.
My way is true healing, not a numbing herbal drink, Sakura countered. Difference between me and you, Hinata, full repair over a quick fix. Maybe you need to take a few more lessons because if Naruto was to depend on your healing jutsus, he'd be likely to die on the field while you try to help him, Hinata shot back. Hey, you both helped me, Naruto tried to interrupt with a consoling smile. Stay out of this. The girls snapped in unison while the bar occupants quickly made for the closest exit.
What's the matter, Sakura-chan? Hinata asked, feeling a rush at standing up for herself and Naruto, and loving it. Your precious Sasuke ran away, so you now have to try to get into your only available teammate's arms.
Sakura's eyes widened in shock at the shot from the most timid of all the Konoha nin. What? This has nothing to do with him. Never struck me as the type to go for a rebound. Sakura, Hinata narrowed her eyes, but maybe Ino was right all along, forehead. Sakura growled and balled up her fists. At least I had some self-respect, what about that? I don't think I stuttered. Selfish bitch. Hinata yelled, her own fists balled up at her side.
Stupid wuss, slut, weakling, Sakura yelled, grabbing Hinata by her jacket collar and rearing back with her free fist.
That's enough. Tifa yelled from the bar, but what shocked Sakura more was Naruto gripping her wrist. Sakura-chan, calm down, Naruto said in a tone of voice she'd heard before but had never been directed to her. And Naruto? Sakura said, paling at the sight of Naruto's hand on the wrist that was gripping Hinata's shirt. Calm down, both of you, Naruto said, though he was staring right into Sakura's eyes. Sakura had seen that look before, the same stare Naruto gives to enemies. I'm sorry, I guess, I'm sorry, Sakura said before quickly turning her back on Naruto, Hinata, and Tifa and running through the exit.
Naruto watched her go and then dropped his chin to his chest. I just don't get why you two can't get along. Naruto sighed before Hinata could mutter a word. You two are among my best friends. I don't like seeing you fighting, he sighed before walking away from Hinata and Tifa. I stood up for myself and Naruto-kun, and at the time, it felt really good, Hinata said glancing back to her new friend. Why do I feel kinda bad right now? She's your rival and your friend, Tifa shrugged, and you did get a little carried away there. Feeling better? Marlene asked as she and Denzel walked around the Konoha village. Yeah, dunno why I'm so sleepy lately, he smiled to his best friend, who was occasionally glancing back behind them. What is it? Why is that box following us? She asked, glancing back to the cardboard box, painted up like a rock with a pair of eye holes directly behind them. Oh, that's just some of the kids I met here, Denzel said, glancing back to the box before walking on. A moment later, the box exploded into 3 colors of smoke. Alright, Udon, we got the right concentration of smoke bombs. Konohamaru cheered before turning to the unimpressed newcomers. Allow us to introduce ourselves. The young beauty with sex appeal of any grown woman, Miyogi. The mathematical genius junior ninja of Konoha, Udon. And fearless leader and heir to the styles of Naruto-sensei, Konohamaru. And together, we are, the Konohamaru Corps. The 3 made poses. Right, Marlene blinked unsurely. Now, if you'll excuse us, we're looking around. Don't you know it's not safe for kids to roam around here all by themselves? Why don't you let our mighty team guide you around, so you two won't be alone? Konohamaru smiled at Marlene, causing her to flush slightly. That's okay, guys, we're not really alone. Our friend's watching over us, Denzel said, stepping a little closer to Marlene. Friend? Who? Udon and Miyogi asked, looking around frantically. Me, spoke the demonic voice directly from behind the trio. The core froze and slowly turned to see the red-cloaked man with incredibly scary eyes staring down at them. Hi, Vincent. Marlene smiled and waved at her friend. Are these people bothering you? Vincent's cold voice spoke, staring daggers at the 3 Konoha youths. Bye. The 3 kids yelped before running away. See, that is how you're supposed to sneak up on someone. Konohamaru's voice could be heard as they ran. I have to ask the boss why he can't sneak like that. That Konohamaru guy, Marlene smiled shyly, he was kinda cute, she said, making Denzel scowl and Vincent roll his eyes. Kids. Vincent sighed, sliding back into the shadows. Tsunade and the village council sat with Barrett, Cloud, and Yuffie in the Hokage's meeting hall, discussing the recent threat. Sephiroth is a not to be taken lightly, Barrett spoke up, I mean, he's a badass son of a bitch if I ever saw one. Must you use such language, outsider? Hyuga Heishi rolled his eyes. Excuse me?
Barrett turned to the council member. Does my choice of words offend ya? Ya Pansy asked Peacock. Barrett got up and walked toward him, leaning toward him to look him right in the eye.
Listen good, white eyes, and I mean damn good. Sephiroth is every cold sweat nightmare you ever had all rolled into a long-haired, pretty boy package. I've seen shit this bastard's done that'll turn you white. Barrett looked at him for a moment. See, it's already happened, ya fucking pansy. You can't take this guy on. If he comes back at full power, he will kill you, ya kids, ya grandparents, and ya pets. Ya wanna play with fire, this bastard's the fucking sun.
Barrett, I think you can calm down, Tifa said as she entered the room. Sorry I'm late, had a small incident at the bar. Bar? Cloud asked with a slightly cocked eyebrow. I've wanted to branch out for a while, and this place could use a good place to eat, Tifa shrugged, and Cloud didn't seem to care one way or another.
Since Avalanche has dealt with this man before, I have asked them to advise in how to deal with this situation, Tsunade informed. Considering how they handled the battle, most of the council didn't argue, either. And if he's willing, I'd like to ask Mr. Strife to give a few instructions to Arjunan on how to deal with Sephiroth.
I can't do that, Cloud said shortly. May I ask why? Heishi asked with his usual, holier-than-thou, attitude.
No one here is close to being able to even engage Sephiroth and live to tell about it. You're all lucky he didn't wipe out everyone here, Cloud said, staring at the wall. Sephiroth is my responsibility, and I will stop him, personally. A moment later, Cloud drew his massive blade and fired a blade beam at the wooden wall of the meeting hall, making a gaping hole. He dashed through the hole and held the sharpened edge to the familiar redhead's throat. Hey, yo, we were just about to knock, yo. Reno whimpered, looking in Cloud's cold, blue eyes. Hey, we're friends now, right, yo. Remember how we fought side by side against that Bahamut, yo. Do let the idiot go, Cloud, Rufus said as he and the other Turks, Rude, Elena and their leader Sang, approached. He's not worth killing. If he was, I'd have done it myself years ago.
Hey, Reno yelped indignantly, that's cold, yo. What are you vultures doing here? Cloud asked finally, letting the goggled redhead fall to the ground.
Same reason you're here, I imagine, Rufus shrugged, his hands in his pockets. Sephiroth, we have a common foe, Cloud. None of us want another meteor, now, do we? And far be it from me to keep my employees from visiting their hometown in their time of need. The former president of Shinra glanced to the awkwardly standing Sang.
Rufus, the hell are you doing here? Barrett asked as he, Tsunade and Tifa looked through the hole Cloud made. Fools, must I repeat myself all day? Rufus rolled his eyes. To sum it up in a sentence, we're here to help. And why should we trust you? Tifa asked with narrowed eyes.
You have no reason to trust my companions, Sang said as he walked forward locking eyes with Tsunade. Nor do you have any reason to trust me after I left, but believe me, great Sennin, I would never betray Konoha, its teachings or its people.
Welcome home, Maida sang. Tsunade smiled and ushered them in. You should know I hate that name. I'm far from mighty, Sang blushed slightly as they re-entered the chamber. I know, but you could have chosen a better family name in my opinion, Tsunade chuckled. Cloud waited for them all to enter while Reno smiled nervously at him. We are friends, right, yo? No, Cloud narrowed his eyes before jerking and making Reno yelp and run behind his fellow Turks. You are entertaining, though, yo.
Okay, so what's the situation exactly? Rufus asked after introducing himself and his men. But, before they could explain, the door swung open and made a guy with his apprentice burst into the chamber.
Honorable Hokage, we heard violence and came as soon as we could. Is anyone, you? Guy's exaggerated speech dropped to a low growl as his eyes locked with Sang. Hello, Guy, Sang said, turning his gaze to the boy beside him. It's been too long. Not long enough, Sang. Why are you here? Guy asked through clenched teeth. Guy-sensei. Do you know this nicely dressed, well-groomed youth? Rock Lee asked, wondering why the Turks' leader was staring at him.
What you see here is no youthful warrior, Lee, Guy said, narrowing his eyes on Sang. This is a coward, who runs away from all responsibility, from his brother and his son. You don't understand, Guy, Sang tried to explain, but Guy held up his hand and looked away. The end. Thanks for watching, also remember to subscribe and like this video. See you in the next video.